First contact. The skies over New Beijing erupted in a dazzling display of light, drawing the attention of millions. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, her dark eyes fixed on the pulsating anomaly above. She'd seen her fair share of strange phenomena during her 10 years in the UEDF, but nothing quite like this. Captain Chen, we're picking up an incoming transmission, her AI assistant, HFY, announced through her neural link. It's not of Earth origin. Sarah's heartbeat quickened. Put it through, HFY. A cacophony of clicks, whistles, and low rumbles filled her mind. The alien language was unlike anything she'd ever heard. Yet, as the sounds continued, patterns began to emerge. Sarah's enhanced neural implants, standard issue for high-ranking UEDF officers, started to decipher the complex linguistic structure. They're requesting permission to land, Sarah realized, her voice barely above a whisper. Within hours, the world's leaders had convened an emergency session. Sarah found herself in the center of a maelstrom of activity, her expertise in xenolinguistics and tactical operations making her an invaluable asset. As the alien ship descended through the atmosphere, its sleek, crystalline structure defying Earth's physics, Sarah led the welcoming committee. Her palms were sweaty inside her powered armor suit, a marvel of human engineering that now felt primitive compared to the technology before her. The ship's hull shimmered, and an opening appeared. Sarah held her breath as the first alien emerged. It was tall, easily 3 meters in height, with iridescent skin that seemed to flow like liquid metal. 4 arms extended from its torso, each ending in delicate, multi-jointed appendages. "I am Zalthran," the alien spoke, its voice resonating directly in Sarah's mind. "We come seeking alliance." Sarah stepped forward, her armor whirring softly. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to Earth." As Sarah engaged in the first official dialogue with an extraterrestrial species, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The aliens, who called themselves the Luminary, spoke of a grave threat to the galaxy, one that required immediate action. "The Void Horde approaches," Zalthran explained, projecting images of a terrifying swarm of shadow-like entities. "They consume all in their path. We need your help, humans. Your unique qualities may be the key to stopping them." Sarah's tactical mind raced. "What qualities do you mean? And why come to us? Surely there are more advanced civilizations out there." Zalthran's skin rippled, an expression Sarah would later learn indicated respect. "Your species possesses a rare combination of adaptability, creativity, and sheer determination. We've observed your rapid technological advancement, your ability to thrive in diverse environments. The Void Horde has never encountered a species quite like yours." As the initial excitement of first contact gave way to the gravity of the situation, tensions began to rise. Many Earth leaders were suspicious of the Luminaries' intentions, fearing a trap or invasion under the guise of cooperation. Sarah found herself caught in the middle, advocating for collaboration while maintaining a healthy skepticism. She spent long hours with Zalthran, learning about Luminary culture and technology, all the while probing for any inconsistencies in their story. One evening, as Sarah was reviewing data in her quarters, HFY alerted her to an anomaly. "Captain, I've detected unusual energy signatures near the Luminary ship. They don't match any known Luminary technology." Sarah's instincts kicked in. She donned her armor and made her way to the alien vessel, her mind racing with possibilities. As she approached, she saw Zalthran engaged in what appeared to be a clandestine meeting with several hooded figures. "Zalthran," Sarah called out, her armor's weapon systems humming to life. "Care to explain what's going on here?" The Luminary turned, its skin flashing with patterns Sarah now recognized as alarm. "Captain Chen, this is not what it appears." But before Zalthran could explain further, the hooded figures revealed themselves. They were neither human nor Luminary, but something else entirely. Their forms shifted and writhed, darkness seeping from their very being. The Void Horde, Sarah gasped, realizing the true extent of the threat. In that moment, as chaos erupted around her, Sarah understood the real reason for the Luminaries' arrival. They hadn't just come seeking an alliance against a common enemy. As Sarah engaged in combat with the Void Horde entities, her armor systems adapting on the fly to the alien threat, she knew that everything had changed. The fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy, now hung in the balance. With a determined grimace, Sarah activated her armor's full combat protocols. Area. Alert UEDF command. Tell them first contact just got complicated. As the battle raged around her, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had been thrust onto the galactic stage, and despite the danger, she knew her species would rise to the challenge. The armored Terran was ready for war. The Alliance forged. The aftermath of the Void Horde's surprise attack left Earth reeling. Cities around the globe bore the scars of the brief but intense skirmish, and humanity found itself thrust into an interstellar conflict it barely understood. In the days that followed, Captain Sarah Chen worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between humans and Luminary, her actions during the attack having earned her the respect of both species. "We had no choice," Zalthran explained to a tense room of Earth's leaders and military commanders. The Luminary's skin rippled with patterns of regret and determination. "The Void Horde follows us wherever we go. We hoped that by coming here, we could draw them out and face them together." Sarah stood at attention, her armor gleaming under the harsh lights of the UEDF war room. "With all due respect, Zalthran, you put our entire planet at risk without our consent." "A risk we deeply regret," Zalthran acknowledged. "But now you've seen the threat firsthand. The question is, will Earth stand with us against this galactic menace?" The room erupted into heated debate. Some argued for immediate retaliation against the Luminary for their deception, while others saw the potential benefits of an interstellar alliance. Sarah remained silent, her mind racing through tactical scenarios and potential outcomes. Finally, the newly appointed Secretary of Galactic Defense, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, raised her hand for silence. "Captain Chen, you've had the most direct contact with both the Luminary and this Void Horde. What's your assessment?" All eyes turned to Sarah. She took a deep breath, acutely aware of the weight her words would carry. "The threat is real, and it's greater than anything we've faced before, but so is the opportunity. The Luminary have technology centuries beyond our own, and they've chosen us as allies. Yes, their methods were questionable, but their intentions seem genuine. I believe we need this alliance as much as they do." Her words hung in the air for a moment before Dr. Tanaka nodded. "Then let's make it official. Captain Chen, you'll act as our chief liaison with the Luminary. Your first task is to establish a joint task force to combat the Void Horde." In the weeks that followed, Earth became a hub of frenetic activity. Luminary ships entered orbit, their crystalline structures glittering against the backdrop of stars. Human scientists worked alongside alien counterparts, marveling at technologies that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Sarah found herself at the center of it all, her unique position allowing her to bridge the gap between human and Luminary thinking. She spent long hours with Zalthran, learning about Luminary culture and history while sharing humanity's own rich tapestry of experiences. "Your species is remarkable," Zalthran mused one day as they watched human engineers adapt Luminary tech to Earth's power grid. "In mere weeks, you've grasped concepts that took us centuries to develop." Sarah smiled, a hint of pride in her voice. "Necessity is the mother of invention, as we say. When our backs are against the wall, humans have a knack for pulling off the impossible." But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings led to frequent tensions, and not everyone on Earth was happy about the alien presence. Protest movements sprang up, decrying the alien occupation and demanding the Luminary leave. Sarah worked tirelessly to ease these tensions, organizing public demonstrations of Luminary technology and cultural exchange programs. She even convinced Zalthran to participate in a global broadcast, answering questions from people around the world. As weeks turned to months, the alliance began to bear fruit. Human innovation, combined with luminary technology, led to breakthroughs in energy production, medicine, and space travel. The first joint human luminary spaceship, christened Unity, was unveiled to global acclaim. But even as humanity reached for the stars, the shadow of the Void Horde loomed. Reports came in of attacks on distant luminary colonies, each one bringing the threat closer to Earth. In response, Sarah spearheaded the development of a new defense system. Combining Earth's missile technology with luminary energy weapons, they created a planetary shield that could theoretically repel a Void Horde attack. "It's not enough," Sarah said during a strategy meeting, her face grim. "We can't just play defense. We need to take the fight to them." Zalthran's skin flashed with patterns of agreement. "We've located one of their primary staging areas. If we could strike it, we might be able to set them back years." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. An offensive mission, deep into enemy territory, with untested alliance forces. The risk was enormous, but so was the potential reward. Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Sarah. "Captain Chen, you've led us this far. Are you willing to lead this mission?" Sarah felt the weight of countless lives on her shoulders. She thought of Earth, of the luminary worlds, of all the species yet to join their alliance. With steely determination, she nodded. "I am, Dr. Tanaka. When do we leave?" As preparations for the mission began, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. In less than a year, humanity had gone from a species alone in the universe to a key player in a galactic conflict. The road ahead was fraught with danger, but for the first time, they faced it with allies at their side. Sarah walked to the window of the space station, gazing out at the Earth below and the stars beyond. Her armor, now a hybrid of human and luminary technology, hummed softly around her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain. The armored Terran was ready to take the fight to the stars. The battle begins. The vast expanse of space stretched out before the Unity, its sleek hull a testament to the combined ingenuity of human and luminary engineering. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her hybrid armor gleaming under the soft blue light of the ship's systems. Around her, a crew of both humans and luminary worked in seamless coordination, a sight that would have been unthinkable just months ago. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates of the Void Horde staging area," Lieutenant Raj Patel announced, his fingers dancing over the holographic controls. Sarah nodded, her face set in grim determination. "Bring us out of FTL, Lieutenant. Let's see what we're up against." The stars blurred and then snapped back into focus as the Unity dropped out of faster-than-light travel. What greeted them sent a chill down Sarah's spine. Before them lay a massive, swirling vortex of darkness, punctuated by flashes of sickly green energy. Surrounding it were hundreds of Void Horde ships, their forms seeming to absorb the very light around them. "By the celestial spheres," Zalthran whispered, the luminary skin pulsing with patterns of fear and awe. "We've never seen a concentration this large before." Sarah's mind raced, analyzing the tactical situation. Their original plan of a swift, surgical strike now seemed woefully inadequate, but she also knew they couldn't retreat. This might be their only chance to deal a significant blow to the Void Horde. "RIA, run simulations on all possible attack vectors," Sarah commanded her AI assistant. "Zalthran, I need everything you know about Void Horde ship capabilities. Lieutenant Patel, keep us at the edge of their sensor range." As the crew scrambled to adapt to the new situation, Sarah felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. This was where humans excelled. Adapting on the fly, thinking outside the box when faced with impossible odds. "Captain, I have a crazy idea," came a voice from the engineering section. It was Dr. Emily Wong, a brilliant physicist who had been key in integrating human and luminary technologies. What if we use the Unity's FTL drive to create a localized space-time distortion? Sarah raised an eyebrow. Explain, Doctor. We could essentially create a bubble of accelerated time around a portion of the Void Horde fleet. They'd experience years in a matter of seconds, potentially causing their ships to age and break down. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. It was an audacious plan, one that defied conventional physics. But then again, conventional thinking hadn't gotten them this far. Can we target the distortion field? Sarah asked, her mind already formulating a plan. Dr. Wong nodded. With some modifications, yes. Do it, Sarah ordered. Zalthran, I need your best pilots. We're going to hit them with everything we've got the moment that time bubble goes up. As the Unity's crew raced to implement the plan, Sarah donned her helmet, preparing to lead the fighter squadron herself. She had insisted on being part of the frontline assault, much to the consternation of both human and luminary high command. Captain, Zalthran's voice came through her comm as she strapped into her fighter. I must express my admiration. In all our centuries of fighting the Void Horde, we never conceived of such a tactic. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's the human touch, Zalthran. We specialize in the impossible. The launch bay doors opened, revealing the swirling chaos of the battlefield. Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself. All wings, report in, she commanded. One by one, human and luminary pilots sounded off, united, ready to face an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. Unity Actual, this is Chen. We're ready on your mark, Sarah radioed back to the ship. Dr. Wong's voice crackled through the comm. Time bubble charging. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. A blinding flash erupted in the center of the Void Horde fleet. Where once there had been hundreds of ships, now there was a sphere of rapidly aging and disintegrating vessels. All fighters, engage. Sarah yelled, pushing her throttle to full. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human or luminary history. Fighters darted between massive capital ships. Energy weapons crisscrossed the void. And at the center of it all, the remains of the time bubble continued to wreak havoc on the Void Horde fleet. Sarah's enhanced reflexes, combined with her hybrid fighter, allowed her to pull off maneuvers that defied belief. She spiraled through the chaos, taking out Void Horde ships with surgical precision, all while coordinating the overall assault. But the Void Horde was not so easily defeated. As the initial shock of the attack wore off, they began to rally. Dark tendrils of energy lashed out, ensnaring allied ships and crushing them. Chen to Unity, we need that shield tech deployed now, Sarah called out as she narrowly avoided a tendril herself. The Unity's main cannon fired, launching a payload that exploded into a web of energy, forming a barrier between the Allied forces and the worst of the Void Horde's counterattack. Hours passed in a blur of intense combat. Losses mounted on both sides, but slowly, surely, the tide began to turn. The Void Horde's numbers, once overwhelming, began to thin. Just as victory seemed within reach, a massive tremor shook the battlefield. The swirling vortex at the center of the Void Horde fleet began to expand rapidly. All forces, fall back, Sarah ordered, realizing the danger too late. The vortex exploded outward, tendrils of void energy lashing out in all directions. Sarah watched in horror as ship after ship, both Allied and Void Horde, was consumed. Unity, get us out of here, she yelled, pushing her fighter to its limits as she raced back to the ship. As the survivors piled into the Unity's hangar, Sarah felt the familiar lurch of FTL travel. They had escaped, but at a terrible cost. In the aftermath, as they limped back to Earth, Sarah stood once again on the Unity's bridge, surveying the battered but unbowed crew. "We struck a blow today," she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the ship. "We showed the Void Horde that the combined might of humanity and the Luminary is a force to be reckoned with. But this war is far from over. We've seen what we're up against, and now we know that conventional tactics won't be enough." She paused, meeting the eyes of humans and luminary alike. But that's okay, because unconventional is what we do best. Together, we'll find a way. We'll push the boundaries of science, of tactics, of our very understanding of the universe, and in the end, we will prevail. As a cheer went up from the crew, Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope. The battle had been costly, but it had also proven something vital. In the face of an overwhelming threat, humanity's creativity and the luminaries' advanced technology were a combination powerful enough to change the course of the war. The armored Terran had faced her first true test in the crucible of interstellar war, and she had emerged stronger, more determined than ever. As the Unity sped towards Earth, Sarah knew that the real work was just beginning. The next phase of the war would require everything they had, and then some. But for the first time since the conflict began, she truly believed they had a chance. The turning point. The mood on Earth was somber as the Unity limped back into orbit. The casualties from the battle at the Void Horde staging area had been steep, and the enemy's last-minute counterattack had left more questions than answers. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her armor bearing the scars of recent combat. Despite heavy losses, the mission was a qualified success. Sarah reported, her voice steady. "We've proven that the Void Horde can be hurt, but we've also discovered that their power source is unlike anything we've encountered before." Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her brow furrowed. "Explain, Captain." Sarah nodded to Dr. Wong, who stepped forward with a holographic projection of the battle's final moments. The vortex at the center of their fleet wasn't just a staging area, Dr. Wong explained. It appears to be a direct tap into some kind of extra-dimensional energy source. The room erupted into murmurs of concern and disbelief. Sarah raised her hand for silence. "This is why I'm proposing a new strategy. We need to understand this energy source if we hope to defeat the Void Horde once and for all." "What exactly are you suggesting, Captain?" Zalthran asked, his skin flickering with patterns of curiosity and apprehension. Sarah took a deep breath. "I'm suggesting we capture a Void Horde ship, not destroy it. Capture it. We need to study their technology up close." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Dr. Tanaka spoke. "That's an ambitious plan, Captain. Some might say impossible." A small smile played at the corners of Sarah's lips. "Impossible is what we do best, Doctor. And I have a plan." Over the next few weeks, Earth became a hive of activity once again. But this time, the focus wasn't on defense or large-scale weapons. Instead, Sarah led a team of human and luminary scientists in developing something entirely new, a stealth ship. "The Phantom," Sarah said, unveiling the sleek black vessel to a select group of officials. Equipped with a reverse-engineered Void Horde energy signature and cutting-edge cloaking technology. If this works, we'll be able to slip right into the heart of their fleet. The mission was given the green light, but with one condition. Sarah would not be leading it personally. The risk was deemed too great to send Earth's foremost tactical mind and the linchpin of human luminary relations. But Sarah had other plans. The night before the Phantom was set to launch, she made her way to the hangar bay. Lieutenant Patel and Dr. Wong were waiting for her, along with a small crew of volunteers, both human and luminary. "Captain," Patel said with a nod, "we're ready when you are." Sarah smiled, touched by their loyalty. "You all understand the risks. This mission isn't sanctioned. If we're caught." "We understand," Dr. Wong interrupted. "But we also understand what's at stake. We're with you, Captain." With a nod of gratitude, Sarah led her team aboard the Phantom. As the ship silently slipped out of Earth's orbit, she couldn't help but feel a mix of exhilaration and dread. They were about to dive into the unknown, with the fate of multiple civilizations hanging in the balance. The journey to the nearest known Void Horde outpost was tense. The Phantom's systems were untested in real combat conditions, and everyone aboard knew that discovery would mean certain death. As they approached the outpost, a swirling mass of dark energy punctuated by ominous angular ships. Sarah gave the order to activate the Void Horde energy signature. "Now we wait," she said, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "If our calculations are correct, they should see us as one of their own." Tense minutes passed. Then, miraculously, a gap appeared in the Void Horde's defensive formation. They were being let in. "It's working," Patel whispered, almost afraid to believe it. Sarah nodded, her face set in grim determination. "Take us in, nice and easy. Remember, we're here to capture, not destroy." The Phantom glided into the heart of the Void Horde fleet. Up close, the enemy ships were even more terrifying. Writhing masses of dark energy barely contained within metallic frameworks. "There," Sarah pointed. "That ship on the periphery. It's smaller, probably easier to overwhelm. That's our target." With practiced precision, the Phantom maneuvered alongside the chosen Void Horde vessel. Magnetic grapples shot out, latching onto the enemy ship's hull. "Boarding team, prepare for insertion," Sarah commanded, donning her helmet. "Dr. Wong, you have the con. If anything goes wrong, you get this ship out of here, understood?" Dr. Wong nodded solemnly. "Understood, Captain. Good luck." Sarah led the boarding team through the airlock and onto the alien vessel. The interior was like nothing they had ever seen. Corridors that seemed to shift and change, pulsing with that same sickly green energy they had observed from afar. "Stay alert," Sarah warned. "We don't know what kind of internal defenses they might have." They made their way towards what they hoped was the ship's bridge, encountering surprisingly little resistance. It was almost too easy. As they reached the central chamber, Sarah realized why. The ship wasn't crewed in any traditional sense. Instead, at its heart was a swirling vortex of void energy, tendrils reaching out to interface with the ship's systems. "By all that's holy," one of the luminary crew members gasped. "It's alive." Sarah approached the vortex cautiously, her suit's sensors working overtime to analyze the phenomenon. As she got closer, she felt a strange pulling sensation, as if the void was calling to her. Suddenly, a tendril of energy lashed out, enveloping Sarah's armor. She cried out, more in surprise than pain, as information flooded her neural interface. In that moment of connection, Sarah saw flashes of the Void Horde's history, their goals, their very nature. They weren't just conquerors, they were consumers of reality itself, seeking to break down the barriers between dimensions and remake the universe in their image. With a tremendous effort of will, Sarah broke the connection, stumbling backward. "We need to go," she gasped. "Now. We have what we came for." As alarms began to blare throughout the ship, the team raced back to the Phantom. They disengaged just as the Void Horde fleet realized the deception, narrowly escaping through a hastily plotted FTL jump. Back on Earth, Sarah stood before the Defense Council once again, her face pale but her eyes burning with newfound determination. "The Void Horde isn't just an enemy we can defeat through conventional warfare," she explained. "They're a fundamental threat to the very fabric of our reality. But in touching their mind, I've seen their weakness." She paused, looking each council member in the eye. "We need to fight them on their own turf, not just in space, but in the spaces between spaces. We need to develop technology that can manipulate the very forces they use against us." Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, intrigued. "What are you proposing, Captain?" Sarah's lips curved into a determined smile. "A new kind of weapon, Doctor. One that combines the best of human ingenuity, luminary technology, and the fundamental forces of the universe itself. I call it the reality anchor." As the council chamber erupted into excited discussion, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope. The path ahead would be difficult, perhaps even more dangerous than anything they had faced before. But for the first time, she could see a way to not just fight the Void Horde, but to defeat them once and for all. The armored Terran had glimpsed the true nature of the enemy, and in doing so, had found the key to humanity's survival. The real battle was just beginning. Triumph of unity. The next 6 months were a whirlwind of activity. Earth had become the center of a galactic war effort, with ships from dozens of alien races joining the Human Luminary Alliance. At the heart of it all was the Reality Anchor Project, led by Captain Sarah Chen and Dr. Emily Wong. Sarah stood in the cavernous laboratory, surrounded by a dizzying array of equipment. The air crackled with energy as scientists from a dozen species worked in harmony, pushing the boundaries of known physics. "Status report, Dr. Wong," Sarah called out, her eyes fixed on the pulsing core of the Reality Anchor prototype. Emily looked up from her console, dark circles under her eyes betraying countless sleepless nights. "We're close, Captain. The anchor is stable at 60% power. Any higher, and we risk tearing a hole in space-time." Sarah nodded, a grim smile on her face. 60% will have to do. The Void Horde isn't going to wait for us to perfect this technology. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. Lieutenant Patel's voice came over the comms, tense but controlled. "Captain, we're picking up multiple Void Horde signatures entering the solar system. It's a full-scale invasion." Sarah's mind raced. The Reality Anchor wasn't ready for deployment, but they were out of time. "Prep the Unity for immediate launch," she ordered, "and get that anchor loaded on board. We'll finish the calibrations en route." Within the hour, the Unity was racing out of Earth's orbit, leading a fleet of Allied ships. The Void Horde armada loomed before them, a writhing mass of dark energy that seemed to devour the very stars. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Sarah commanded from the Unity's bridge. "Remember, our goal is to push them back long enough for us to deploy the Reality Anchor." The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from 100 worlds fought side by side, their varied technologies creating a symphony of destruction against the Void Horde's relentless advance. Sarah's enhanced reflexes were pushed to their limit as she coordinated the fleet's movements, all while monitoring the Reality Anchor's final preparations. "Captain, we're as ready as we'll ever be," Dr. Wong's voice came through the comm. "But there's a problem. The anchor needs to be at the epicenter of the Void Horde's energy field to have maximum effect." Sarah's heart sank. She knew what that meant. "Understood, Doctor. I'll take it in myself." Despite vehement protests from her crew, Sarah donned her armor and made her way to the launch bay. The Reality Anchor, now housed in a sleek, missile-like casing, waited for her. "Zalthran," Sarah called out to her luminary friend, "I'm transferring command to you. Keep the fleet together, no matter what happens." Zalthran's skin rippled with patterns of sorrow and respect. "It has been an honor, Sarah Chen. Your name will be remembered among the stars." With a nod of acknowledgement, Sarah launched herself into space, the Reality Anchor clutched tightly to her chest. Her armor's thrusters propelled her towards the heart of the Void Horde fleet, dodging energy blasts and debris. As she neared her target, tendrils of void energy began to wrap around her, trying to pull her in. Sarah gritted her teeth, fighting against the alien consciousness that threatened to overwhelm her mind. "Not today," she growled, pushing through the pain. With a final burst of effort, she reached the swirling vortex at the center of the Void Horde armada. "Now, Emily," Sarah yelled into her comm as she plunged the Reality Anchor into the heart of the void. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, with a blinding flash, the Reality Anchor activated. A shockwave of energy rippled outward, warping the fabric of space-time itself. The Void Horde ships began to disintegrate, their connection to their home dimensions severed. Sarah watched in awe as the dark energy that had seemed so overwhelming just moments ago began to dissipate like smoke in the wind. But the victory came at a cost. Sarah felt her armor failing, its systems overloaded by the Reality Anchor's energy. As darkness began to creep into the edges of her vision, she saw the Allied fleet advancing, mopping up the last of the Void Horde resistance. "We did it," she whispered, a smile on her lips as consciousness slipped away. Sarah awoke to the steady beep of medical equipment. She was back on Earth, in a hospital room filled with flowers and cards from well-wishers across the galaxy. Dr. Tanaka stood at her bedside, a rare smile on her face. "Welcome back, Captain. Or should I say, Admiral Chen." Sarah blinked in confusion. "Admiral, how long was I out?" 3 weeks, came the reply. "Long enough for us to confirm that the Void Horde threat has been neutralized. Your actions didn't just save Earth, Sarah. You saved the entire galaxy." As the implications sank in, Sarah felt a mix of emotions wash over her: relief, pride, and a touch of sadness for those lost along the way. But most of all, she felt hope. Hope for a future where humanity stood tall among the stars, not just as warriors, but as builders and peacekeepers. In the months that followed, Earth became a hub of galactic cooperation. The technology developed to fight the Void Horde was now being repurposed to explore the farthest reaches of the universe. Ships bearing the flags of 100 worlds set out on missions of discovery, with humans often at the helm. Sarah, now Admiral Chen, stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first true interstellar port. Below her, ships of all shapes and sizes docked and departed, carrying with them the dreams and aspirations of countless species. Zolthran joined her, his skin shimmering with patterns of contentment. "Who would have thought," he mused, "that the species we once sought to protect would end up being the protectors of us all?" Sarah smiled, her gaze fixed on the stars. "That's the thing about humans, Zolthran. We're full of surprises." As they stood there, watching the bustle of interstellar traffic, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The armored Terran had faced the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known and emerged victorious. But more than that, humanity had proven that its greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to unite, to adapt, and to face the unknown with unwavering courage. The stars beckoned, full of new challenges and adventures, and humanity, no longer alone in the cosmos, was ready to meet them head-on.